Hi, so I kind of wanted to show you how I would go up and set up my canvas for the challenge 4 project. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide where my perspective is. So basically, if I'm looking at the objects on my canvas, where is my eyes going to be? And I'm just going to make it easy and go ahead and say that my eyes are going to be right in the middle of the canvas like this. So I'm going to create a new layer and just grab a line tool and just gonna go ahead and put that line in. This is where the center of my vision is gonna be. So now I know that anything above this line, I'm kind of gonna be looking up to, and anything below the line, I'm gonna be looking down at. And that's just gonna really help me with my perspective. Anytime I feel like I'm doing geometric objects, I'm gonna really wanna have that kind of perspective laid down. And I want to go ahead and add to this a perspective grid. So I'm going to go back to shapes and I'm going to choose my polygon tool. And I'm going to choose 100 sides, or maybe 99 sides. I don't know. And then I'm going to choose a star, incense sides by 99. And then I'm going to just go ahead and make that. There we go. Move it around, move it down to my perspective line there. Now I'm kind of really gonna be able to use this to kind of get a shape idea of like how my perspective is gonna work in my geometrical objects. So then I'm gonna make a new layer. And I'm actually gonna go to this window here, which is my path window, and make a new path. I'm gonna call this crystal outline. Because I do not want to try hand drawing a crystal, I'm going to use the path tool to do it for me. So let's increase the size of my canvas here. I'm just gonna ignore all of the things I just did. And I'm gonna draw my little crystal here. And have like a pendant shape, I guess. And then I'm going to go to the direct selection tool and move my corners around. And when you can get the line straight by kind of seeing when there's no overlap there. Just that, and then I'm going to make that in the center. And then there we go. There's a way to like kind of get it reflective, but I want my crystals to be a little off balance. I think that would be cooler looking. And then I'm going to make another path. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool. And here, because I know like this is the center of my line of vision, up here, I'm going to see like these lines here up higher, and these lines here down lower. So I'm going to put the second kind of row of facets in a little bit lower than the first on the bottom, and a little bit higher than the ones on the top. And then back to my direct selection tool, and I can move these around if I want to. Again, I want these lines to be kind of straight, or straight and up and down. And I can do a lot of kind of moving around and seeing how it looks with this. That's what I really like about this path tool, is that you can just really like, you don't have to keep erasing and redrawing whatever. You can just really just play around with the shape until you get it the way you like it. That one I want. Okay, so then I'm going to add some more paths. So in here, gonna connect my things together, and make sure that they're in the right places. I think there's a way to kind of snap 2 points. Well, there is a way to do it in Illustrator, but I'm not as familiar as using this tool in Photoshop. And then try another one down here. Oh. And I can see that like here, these lines are clearly not meeting up. I really want them to. So I'm going to line them up here, and then I'm going to go back to this there and make sure that they're, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, they're about in the same place. And then this one's not in the exactly right place. Oops. I guess I'll change that one instead. Okay, so there's my crystal. It's a little maybe off balance. Maybe I want to bring this in 20 left. There. And then I bring that one in. Can do it there. And you can play around with it as much as you want to. So again, you can see because I'm looking in the center here, this one's going up a little bit and this one's going down a little bit. And these lines are not the most helpful right now because I'm not kind of doing the straight object, the objects that the perspective there really works for in this case, but and these are not like 90-degree angles exactly. But I think it does give me some idea of how this shape is going to look. So once I have this outline done in my path, I'm going to stroke it onto, I'm going to put it onto my layer. So I'm going to make my 3 crystal layers. And I'm going to go back to the path. Let's really show some. So I'm going to switch from the direct selection tool to the path selection tool. And I'm going to select all the paths, like those for them here. And I'm going to put my first crystal right about here. And then I'm going to make sure I have good settings. So when you're, you can do 2 things with a path. You can fill it. I have to select it first. You can fill it. Oh. So first you have to click on a layer. Then you can fill it like that. And that could be helpful for some of you doing your backgrounds. Or you can stroke it. And so it's the same thing, just select all the paths. And then make sure you have your pen or a brush tool on the right setting. So you can actually go down to your hard pressure size. And then you just go back to your path selection tool, left click, stroke path. And then you can actually do a thing if you have the pressure brush on, you can simulate pressure. It doesn't usually turn out well, but it's kind of fun. So you can see, if I turn off this path here, but like some of the lines are thicker and some of them are thinner, which is kind of cool. But I'm going to not want to do that. So do this. So if I go back and choose my layer, all of my layers are selected. I stroke my path and then don't simulate pressure. And there's my first crystal. And it's so pretty. And then I'm going to make another path layer, crystal 2. First, I'm going to have a spell. And then I'm going to go back to my paths, make sure they're selected. And then when I use the direct selection tool, I'm going to drag my path over, and you can see it's leaving that stroked object behind. So the path is still manipulable, right? I can move these points around, but this is now as if I had drawn it with a pencil. Right? I can't change this in any of the same ways that I can change these paths. So now it's like kind of completely like a normal drawn object on a layer. And I'm not great at figuring out how to make sure these are both lined up. So I'm actually going to put another guide on here. Just move my thing over here and put it up here. Oops, never mind. There we go. I'm making a 9, actually. Line up with the top of my thing here. And go back to my crystal number 2. That path back. I make sure it's lined up in the same way as this one. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to stroke the path. And there we go. And then I'm going to do third crystal. And I'm going to choose my path again. This time I want my third crystal to be down here in the middle. And that changes like how we're looking at it, right? So we're not, like it's not as high up anymore. So, but it's still above our line of sight. So I'm going to want to move these little shape views down a little bit to kind of try to reflect that it's actually down a little bit. And then here, this one's even further below my line of sight than these ones are. So I'm going to move these ones down a little bit too. Go. That's going to give us more of the kind of appearance of a three-dimensional object. Yeah. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and stroke my path. We're on third layer. Let's just check. There, okay, good. There we go. And now I've got all those things happening. And then I can go to the path layer and just unselect it so it's not showing up anymore. So now I've got my 3 crystals here, and the perspective is not terribly bad on them. And the last thing we're going to want to do before I start manipulating them in any way is I'm going to want to add a light layer, like my perspective. Actually, I might just reuse my perspective tool to be a light layer. Like, where do I want my light to come from? So I can actually move my light source like over here. Make it bigger. Probably, but I don't want to bother with it. So I'm going to move that light source over here, and now I'm going to see, like, be able to have a better idea of like what sides are going to be lit up, what sides are going to be dark. I'm also going to have to like determine, like, is this going to be in front of the objects or behind the objects? If I put them behind the objects, it probably wouldn't be a great way because most of the crystal would be dark. So I might want to do it in front of the objects. And like make those decisions before you start doing anything so that you don't have to go back and change them later. And then I'm also going to want to decide, like, so I want to have these crystals hanging up. Are they going to be like, is there a wall near here? Like, what are they casting a shadow on? What are they reflecting? And when I go ahead and make shadows later, I'm going to actually do more guidelines to kind of see where those shadows are. But this is the basic way that I would set up a project like this.